Frank, good to see you. Welcome to Popternative.
Hey, what's up?
I mean, who needs craft services for this film, right?
Exactly.
The
number of times says, keep your hands off the chips.
I can't even imagine. Every shot, there's like snacks everywhere. I mean, come on.
There's snacks everywhere. And I'm trying to make a comment about that. Get off the snacks, kids.
This movie was
get off the bloody snacks, especially when the blood is splattering all over them. You know,
100%. This movie was crazy. I mean, anyone who sees the trailer for this movie knows it's going to be crazy. But when you watch this, and I have so many questions, but specifically, it's got the gore, it's got the jump scares, it's got the stuff we love of horror movies, it's spooky season. But this one really tackles the people are scary. And I think that's kind of what is changing with the horror genre these days and is part of the big surge, different ways to scare people. Is it safe to say when you were writing this, that was kind of the first thing on your mind? Or one of them?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's so many scary things happening in the world. And I'm like, well, here's an opportunity to make a commentary about it. You know, we could either make a physical a survival film of a girl, trying to get out of a difficult, sort of horrifying situation, which it is, but is that enough? And, you were trying to make a movie with one girl in a gas station. How do you, sustain the suspense, the thrills, the excitement? How do you maintain today's audiences, which is pretty scattered? I think we can both agree on that. And so you start thinking about, well, what's going on in the world? And you realize, man, there's so many scary things going on. And I think a big part of the subjects that I'm trying to tackle with the dialogue is exposing that. And so, the dialogue really tries to delve into some of these issues. And I think you're right. I think for the genre now to maintain, to sustain itself, to continue, we have, I think even if we make horror movies, it's our duty to sort of expose people and show, look, these are the it's fun, but this is what's horrible about us. And if you remember in Maniac, he wasn't a monster looking. He was your neighbor, but he was freaking scary, And so I think it was the same thing with this. Here we have a very scary person who's after her.
P2 as well, right? We can't forget about that.
As well. It's a psychological. Yeah, there's the guy, it doesn't look scary, but he's been scarred. And I think also, it was important for me to show in this particular movie that the people who commit these heinous crimes, it doesn't come out of nowhere.
No.
It comes from somewhere. It comes from all of these things that the pressures and the inability to be able to survive outside of the world, which pushes them over the edge. And I'm not condoning or excusing the behavior, but what I'm trying to say is that somewhere we're all kind of responsible for the creation of these monsters that are out in the world.
Yeah. And now listen, the film's going to be available October 20th, just in time for kind of the final kind of crunch time of spooky season on Shudder. So I can't wait for people to see it. Now, I'm going to put spoilers. I want to talk about the ending. I'm going to put spoiler alert and everything in there and everything.
Sure.
But I want to talk about
your show, pal. It's your show. You do what you got to do.
So I watched this movie and it made me think, and I think that's the point, right? You know what I mean? You want people to think, okay? Yeah. So you're probably like hearing this, but you made me think so much that I was like, you know what? I'm not going to make this, this is going to be some spoilers. So you talked about at the beginning of the movie, I mean, survival, right? Someone in a gas station, a girl, Alice, in a gas station getting shot at, trying to survive, okay? She does not survive. She does not survive the movie, okay? And I was wondering from a writing perspective, or even directing perspective, I'm just curious. I don't know how much you could divulge. I'm just curious from a fan too, Frank. Was it just to kind of, catch the audience off guard? Did you want to kind of change it up a little bit? Because I did not expect that. You watch this, you think she's going to get out, she's going to go with that little girl, and then, you talked about the fact that she can't have children, and maybe there's an opportunity to kind of go with that little girl and everything. So, but then that kind of switches, and she does not survive. So I'm just curious, is that kind of the things I'm talking about here, or is it more than that specifically about your mindset about the end?
Well, I mean, life is tragedy, and not every hero survives, and not everybody gets to survive, and there are greater issues at stake here, and there are greater points, I think, to be made. And I think that even though, look, she's not this perfect person either, in the beginning of the movie and throughout. You realize what she's involved with, what her work is, and who she's been involved with, and what she's potentially done. And I think that sort of sets up the intrigue with the sniper. Is he after her? Does he know her? Is this random? Is he involved in these things? Is his gripe with society a gripe with her? So we thought about it, and I thought about it a lot. And what was important to me more so than her, more so than him, was the future. And the future is the child. And the child being left on its own, to me, is a tragic, tragic thing that we do every day. The more we gripe with each other, the more we fight with each other, the more we set our children free into the road of life.
That ending
by
sequence
themselves.
Was brutal, Frank. Brutal.
And so what happens is, if we can't get our shit together, then what's going to happen is, we're going to leave our children alone to fend for themselves without really any real direction. And we're not doing anybody any service with that. And when you see, the whole movie happens at night in this very confined sort of place. But when the sun comes and you reveal beauty of the world and this child alone walking into the distance by themselves. Now, this is a big spoiler, but when you see that, there's hope, but it's also very tragic. And I think that's the place that we're at in the world, especially in light of everything that's going on in the world today. I think that's the message, really.
You tiptoed around some of the things with Alice about, you tiptoed, but like, from a writing perspective, was that difficult just to not give away, like, oh, she might be cheating on someone, or oh, like, you tiptoed around it, like you never really knew officially, but you kind of suspected it. You know what I mean by that?
But if you depending on what side you decide you're going to latch onto, or what you imagine, you could follow the movie and it makes sense until the very end. And what I find is somebody who has been cheated on will latch on to that aspect. Somebody who's been Me Too is gonna latch down to that aspect. Somebody who's lost a child is gonna latch on to that sort of perspective. You know what I mean? Somebody who's been affected by the big pharma will say it's got to be that person. So the movie becomes personal depending on your own experience in the world. And I think that was what I was trying to achieve with the script. Can I make sense either way? Can this be all of these people? Because to me, it kind of is. To me, it's all of us. We are all that person. We are all both of them. And the fact that we continue to fight with one another is the real tragedy and the real horror, of the film. So it's horrific on multiple levels. And I hope that the thrills and the fear and the scares work. And I really hope that the sort of cerebral, more intellectual aspect of the horror of who we are as humans, and you hit on that when you started talking, who we are as humans is really, what's really horrible here, unfortunately.
Yeah. And, can we just I want to give a shout out to your crew, because I just love the way this movie was filmed, man. You know what I mean? Like the kind of crew and just the post and the colors. Maybe that's shout out to the colorists. Like the colors of this movie was insane.
Yeah. The Stephen Pettyville, the DP of the French guy, who's very, very, very good. And, colorist also was very good. And the colors were important. The products were important. Getting the right colors, because we are always, we know those colors. We know those gas stations. We know what they look like. We know those fluorescent lights, what they are. I mean, it's so America. You drive and you see, it's Kmart, it's Walmart, it's every Exxon, every gas station, it's product, it's gasoline, it's they did a great job. I'm very happy, I'm very proud of the crew as well, and the actors, who I thought were fantastic, and Camille Rowe, who I think was just absolutely phenomenal in portraying this character.
Absolutely, she's great. I can't wait, and people are going to be able to see it October 20th on Shudder, Night of the Hunted. Frank, so great chatting with you. Really appreciate your time.
Great pleasure. Thank you. I love your energy and I love your questions, man. And thank you for taking the time and checking it out. And I hope everybody gets to see it and it makes people think a little bit.
Absolutely.
You know?
I appreciate
scared,
it. And happy,
thrills, and some thinking. You know?
Happy spooky season. I just want to say that.
And you as well, my brother. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.